शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर्गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ॐ श्री गुरवे श्री सत्यसाईनाथ श्रीपादुकां पूजयामि नमः। ॐ श्री परमगुरवे श्री शिरडी साईनाथ श्रीपादुकां पूजयामि नमः। ॐ श्री परमेष्टि गुरवे श्री दत्तात्रेय स्वामी श्रीपादुकां पूजयामि नमः। ॐ सद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। हरिः ॐ बन्धूककाञ्चननिभं रुचिराक्षमालां पाशाङ्कुशौ च वरदां निजबाहुदण्डैः बिभ्राणमिन्दुशकलाभरणं त्रिनेत्रम् अर्धाम्बिकेशमनिशं वपुराश्रयामि। ॐ नमश्चण्डिकायै। हरिः ॐ ततः काली समुत्पत्य गगनं क्ष्मामताडयत् कराभ्यां तन्निनादेन प्राक्स्वनास्तेति रोहिताः अट्टाट्टहासमशिवं शिवदूती चकारक तैः शब्दैरसुरास्त्रेषु शुम्भः कोपं परञ्ययौ दुरात्मं तिष्ठतिष्ठेति व्याजहाराम्बिका यदा तदा जयेत्यभिहितं देवैराकाशसंस्थितैः शुम्भेनागत्य या शक्तिर्मुक्ता ज्वालातिभीषणा आयान्ति वह्निकूटाभासा निरस्ता महोल्कया सिंहनादेन शुम्भस्य व्याप्तल्लोकत्रयान्तरम् निर्घातनिस्वनो घोरो जितवानवनीपते शुम्भमुक्ताञ्छरान् देवी शुम्भस्त्रत्प्रहिताञ्चरान् चिच्छेदस्वशरैरुग्रैः शतशोथ सहस्रशः ततः सा चण्डिका क्रुद्धा शूलेनाभिजघानतम् सतताभिहतौ भूमौ मूर्च्छितो निपपातः ततो निशुम्भः सम्प्राप्य चेतनामात्तकार्मुकः आजघानशरैर्देवीं काळीं केसरिणं तथा पुनश्च कृत्वा बाहूनामयुतं दनुजेश्वरः चक्रायुतेन दितिजश्छादयामास चण्डिकां ततो भगवती क्रुद्धा दुर्गा दुर्गार्तिनाशिनी चिच्छेददेवी चक्राणि स्वशरैः सायकांश्च तान् ततो निशुम्भो वेगेन गदामादाय चण्डिकाम् अभ्यधावत वैहन्तुं दैत्यसैन्य समावृतः तस्यापतत एवाशु गदाञ्चिच्छेद चण्डिका खड्गेन शितधारेण स च शूलं समाददे शूलहस्तं समायान्तन्निशुम्भममरार्दनं हृदि विव्याधशूलेन वेगाविद्धेन चण्डिका भिन्नस्य तस्य शूलेन हृदयान्निसृतोपरः महाबलो महावीर्यस्तिष्ठेति पुरुषो वदन् तस्य निष्क्रामतो देवी प्रहस्य स्वनवत्ततः शिरश्चिच्छेद खड्गेन ततो सावपतत् भुवि। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Hari Om, Shalom, Sai Ram, Namaste. Last week we were studying the place where Devi leapt up the Kali after the sounds made by the twang of Chandika and then the bell and then the lion sound. Kali goes up into the sky and comes down to the earth. with both her hands, hitting the Mother Earth with that sound of the thump of the Mother Kali on the earth. The entire sounds that were created before were drowned. Then Shivaduti bursts into a terrifying laughter, and Shumbha flew into an utmost rage. Then the mother said, "Stay there, O evil one." The guards stationed with her, sound of the voice of her said, "Victory to thee, Mother Durga." Then Shumbha launches a spear, and the mother fights back. All the missiles that were launched were destroyed by the mother. Then, as that was happening, the interspace between the three worlds was drowned by the sounds of Shumbha's war cry and the thunder clap of the mother goddess as well. Hundreds and thousands of arrows were launched and shot by each other. Then mother struck him with a spear, and then he falls down. Shumbha falls down, faints, and falls down on the earth. At that time, Nishumbha gains consciousness, took his bow, and struck the mother with the arrows, Kali, and the lion. Spreading 10,000 arms of his, he launched 10,000 discuses onto Chandika. Then the goddess Durga, Durgartinasini, the destroyer of difficulties and afflictions, became angry and cuts all those discuses with her own arrows. Then Nishumbha strikes her with his mace. Mother destroys that into pieces with her sword. Then he launched a spear. At that time, she takes her Trishulam and pierces his heart. And from his heart came out another person of great strength and valor, and saying, "Stop! Bhinnasya tasya shulena hridayan nisruto paraha mahabalo mahaviryaha tishteti purusho vadan tasya nishkramato devi prahasya svanavattataha." As he emerged, the goddess, laughing loudly, "Siraschicheda khadgena tato savapatad bhuvi," then takes her sword and cuts his head off, laughing loudly. And therefore, that was the end of Nishumbha. And at that point of time, all the rest of the mother's ganas come into action. Tataha simhaha cha khadogra damshtrakshunna sirodhara. Then the lion, then the lion severed the heads of all these demons, swallowed the asuras whose necks were crushed by his sharp teeth. Damshtra kshunna sirodharan. So did Kali. Asuram Asuram Stam Tatha Kali. Shivaduti Tatha Paran. So did Kali and Shivaduti swallowed the others. ततः सिंहश्च खादोग्र दंष्ट्राक्षुण्णशिरोधरान्
ततः सिंहश्च खादोग्रदंष्ट्राक्षुण्णशिरोधरान् ततः सिंहश्च खादोग्रदंष्ट्राक्षुण्णशिरोधरान्
असुरांस्तांस्तथा काली शिवधूती तथा परान्
असुरांस्तांस्तथा काली शिवदूती तथा परान् असुरांस्तांस्तथा काली शिवदूती तथा परान्
ततः सिंहश्च खादोग्रदंष्ट्राक्षुण्णशिरोधरान् असुरांस्तांस्तथा काली शिवधूती तथा परान्
ततः सिंहश्च खादोग्रदंष्ट्राक्षुण्णशिरोधरान् असुरांस्तांस्तथा काली शिवदूती तथा परान् ततः सिंहश्च खादोग्रदंष्ट्राक्षुण्णशिरोधरान् असुरांस्तांस्तथा काली शिवदूती तथा परान्
कौमारी शक्ति निर्भिन्ना केचिन्नेषुर्महासुरः ब्रह्माणि मन्त्रपूतेन तोयेनान्ये निराकृताः. Some of the Mahasuras, great Asuras, were killed, being pierced by the Shakti of the veil, the spear of Kaumari, and some others were repelled by Brahmani by sprinkling of the mantra waters on them. Mantra putena toyaha, with the water that is purified by the mantras. Brahmani repelled lot of asuras. Kaumari Shakti Nirbhinna Kechinneshur Mahasuraha.
कौमारी शक्तिनिर्भिन्नाः केचिन्नेषुर्महासुराः कौमारी शक्तिनिर्भिन्नाः केचिन्नेषुर्महासुराः
ब्रह्माणि मन्त्रपूतेन तोयेनान्ये निराकृताः.
ब्रह्माणि मन्त्रपूतेन तोयेनान्ये निराकृताः ब्रह्माणि मन्त्रपूतेन तोयेनान्ये निराकृताः.
I hope all of you are chanting after I said the slokas. Yes. These are
Yes,
very
Swami.
important slokas. If you don't chant, then you are missing the opportunity to actually you are getting initiated into each of these mantras, whether you know it or not. There is so much of when you hear and when you learn properly, if you don't repeat, then it won't stick in your head. That means you are not initiated into these mantras. This is every line is a Maha Mantram with a Bijaksharam embedded in it. You have no idea what grace of Mother it is upon all of us to be able to even listen, forget about to be able to chant after, and forget about even able to be able to understand the literal meaning of it, and let alone the inner meaning of it and how it applies. This is Divyas Sukruti. Sukruti means ability to have the the grace to receive it, all of it. And 99% of it will not stick by Monday. 99% of it. Because you will right away for tathapi mamata varte moha garte nipatita. She will just make you fall right into it. That's exactly what Krishna did to his own mother, where he shows inside his mouth the entire Vishwam. The next split second, bum, she's out of it. She's wondering what's happening to in the mouth of this guy. It's not ordinary, all of that stuff. Huh? Immediately, he just makes her, he's Mahamaya. She is Mahamaya. If she stays with her Vishwarupam always in the background, then know that it is her grace. 99% will not even remember who these Matrukas are, why they are doing all of this stuff, what is the significance of all of this. I'm This is the reason why you study it over and over and over and over again. You come to practice sessions, the same thing happens. By the way, the practice sessions, people are thinking only, just we will just come and chant some shlokas. If you actually come to practice session and now you are studying this month, whether it is Rudram or the Devi Mahatyam, then you will actually be able to connect to it much more profoundly. Out of 132 days of the yajna, only 10 days is the last. So the rest of the 121 days you are doing yajna. You don't remember this. Your daily prayer that you are doing is part of the yajna. Your monthly parayana is part of the yajna. And on the top of it, if you are coming to practice sessions, imagine how much grace has been showered upon by Bhagavan for 132 days. That is half of your year filled with this divine mantras and their grace. We are all thinking we'll come to Yajna, throw some stuff into the fire. Then I got all the grace of God and all of that stuff. The process of doing sadhana is more powerful than sitting in front of that Homakunda, because every day you are offering something into this Yajna. Something into this yajna, some new insight comes in where you offer one of these thoughts into the yajna every day for 132 days you are offering into this yajna. And that yajna is the fire of wisdom in which you are giving up the mind and the I so profoundly. Cut the I across. Tomorrow, yesterday was Good Friday. Today is Saturday after the Good Friday, and tomorrow is the Easter Sunday. What are we studying? What are we studying? Right around the time of the Easter, we are studying. Cut the I across. Cut the I across is what we are studying. See how much grace of God it is that even the mantras that you are studying are perfectly timed with everything that is happening in the universe. Perfectly timed. If you don't know this is the grace of Bhagavan, you have not understood what grace is. Every moment is filled with His grace. You open your eyes and you close your eyes 132 days and beyond. He is doing this. What is it what we are studying? And this is also Passover time. This is also Ramadan time. What is Passover about? Passover is about surrender, to be relieved from slavery. What is it that we are talking about? The slavery to the objects that we are associated with, and that slavery of the mind in senses, and slavery to all the objects that we are associated with. It's object, not just as in object as in a cell phone, car, etc. Objects in the context of even people and the relationships, everything where you are attached to it. That is slavery. So the moment you understand and you get this knowledge about yourself, your mind is relieved from slavery. And that relief of the mind from the slavery to go seek itself in the place where it belongs. This is what we are studying, brothers and sisters. And then what is happening after that? Attachment to the mind is relieved. The identification is the Purusha that came out, and it is that Purusha. She took the sword of discrimination and severed it off. Siraschicheda khadgena tato savapatad bhuvi. So it is, when I say this, please don't take it, feel bad if you are not coming to the yajna. Being part of this 132 days of sadhana, and year after year until his centennial, if he is making that happen, do you understand how much grace you need to have to be able to be part of that? But yet, what will happen is we will be thrown out of it by the Mahamaya with some excuse that comes in the way, and then you will say, I am not going to come because this attachment is there, that attachment is there, this problem is there, that problem is there. That doesn't mean hurt your families and do something crazy. It requires a heart, a strong heart to be aligned with Bhagavan's grace. The mind will not give it. Therefore, all the rest of the asuras are now put to end by these matrikas, because now those are rejuvenated. Because the mother then killed the identification with the objects, but the objects are still existing. They have to be completely eliminated for the next thing, the eye, to be cut across and put on the cross. If you actually understand what this crucifixion of Jesus that has happened on a Good Friday, it is a yajna. It is an amazing yajna that happened. And that yajna, the moment you connect to that yajna, how systematically the body identification and the mind identification of Jesus was put to the end by the will of his Father, and how that happened as a yajna, wherein that loss of identification has relieved that incredible spirit of the Father within to come out and declare, the Son of God was taken upon a pole and offered in the yajna as an ahuti. What is this mantra we chant? We are chanting Purusha Suktam day in and day out. That is exactly what Purusha Suktam is. How the Son of God was chosen to be put on a pole, and he was tied up, and he was offered as a sacrifice in the fire. Now, the common question that people will ask in ignorance is, what are you talking, sir? Veda is timeless, endless. How can Veda describe the crucifixion of Jesus? What happened many, many years later in 2005, only 4,500 years ago? Vedas existed since eternity. Krishna's name exists. Krishna's name was only 5,000 years ago. How come in Narayana Upanishad Krishna was mentioned? Rama existed only 15,000 years ago. How come Rama's name was mentioned in Vedas? You don't understand this. These Vedas are eternal. Everything that has happened in the history of universe is already captured. Therefore, when Prahlada was asked by Hiranyakashipu in Kruta Yuga, what is it that it has saved you? He says Rama's name in the form of Narayana. Rama did not exist at Prahlada's time. You think this crucifixion of Jesus is an episode that only happened to Jesus? There were millions of Jesuses that were born and sacrificed in the yajna. Not one, two. We know in history one Jesus. That's called the Christ. But there are millions of Christs that exist and existed in the universe and will exist. नमो रुद्रेभ्यो ये पृथिव्यां ये एन्तरिक्षे ये दिवि एषावन्नं वातो वर्षमिषभस्तेभ्यो दश प्राचेर्दश दक्षिणा दश प्रतीचेर्दशो दीचेर्दशोद्वास्तेभ्यो नमस्ते नो मृडयन्तु ते जन्विष्मो यश्च नो द्वेष्टितं भोजम्भे दधामि. Understand the meaning of that mantra, you will connect to what is it that I am talking about. Then what happens? Triambakam yajamake sugandhim pushtivardhanam. By offering himself on the cross, he became Mrutyunjaya. So this Nishumbha. And then what happened? When he was sacrificed on the cross and the resurrection aspect of it, Purushan Jatamagratah Tena Deva Ayajanta Sadhya Rishayaschaje Tasmagad Yagnat Sarvahutaka Sambhrutam Prushadajyam Pashugastagaschakreva Yavyana Aranyan Gramyaschaje. You think this is just crucifixion of Jesus? If you put your ego on the cross and let it be nailed in the work of God, in forgiveness and forbearance, to take upon the sins of all the people that exist at that point of time and the entire universe, you are freed in the yajna. You are not put to death. In fact, the death of the ego is what we are actually praying for, so that we actually know who we are. Yajneshwaraya Vidmahe. Now you see this whole system is filled with Christ consciousness. And we are talking about crucifixion of the identity with the mind first. And what is the first mind? Even the body itself is the identification. The mind itself is the identification. And therefore, Nishumbha represented this complexity associated with everything in identification. And that when put on cross and nailed, it is not done yet. Purushan jatamagratah tena deva ayajanta sadhya rishayaschaye. When that Purusha came, emerged out of that cross, everybody was looking, all the rishis, etc. That is in the context of here, you will see it's not done yet. That's the final resurrection we will see tomorrow with Shumbha. Then all these divine forces within, the rest of systematically destroy everything that is associated with the identification in thought and every image that is created by this identification, literally, not objects as in the case of just objects as I said, an iPhone or a car or a person or etc. Even the images identified with, which are in thoughts and in impressions, the Matraganas then come into picture and destroy them one by one and one by one. What are you thinking now? Oh my God, if this is the case, I better not go through all this process. Because my entire life is a web of nothing but images and identifications and objects. How am I going to run my life if this happens? Tomorrow I may not. This is, you are worried about the next thing, you are immediately worried. What will happen tomorrow if I suddenly get realized all my identification is reached? Then what will happen tomorrow? You will really live a life for the super self, not for the life associated as in the reflection and in the mirror. You will truly live a life. You got the essence of the rest of the story. Rest of them are all just a description of what I'm talking about as a story. You got the scoop. कौमारी शक्तिनिर्भिन्नाः केचिन्नेषुर्महासुराः ब्रह्माणि मन्त्रपूतेन तोयेनान्ये निराकृताः
कौमारी शक्तिनिर्भिन्नाः केचिन्नेषुर्महासुराः ब्रह्माणि मन्त्रपूतेन तोयेनान्ये निराकृताः कौमारी शक्तिनिर्भिन्नाः केचिन्नेषुर्महासुराः ब्रह्माणि मन्त्रपूतेन तोयेनान्ये निराकृताः
माहेश्वरी त्रिशूलेन भिन्नाः पेतुस्तथा परे
माहेश्वरी त्रिशूलेन भिन्नाः पेतुस्तथा परे माहेश्वरी त्रिशूलेन भिन्नाः पेतुस्तथा परे
वाराही तुण्डघातेन केचिच्चूर्णीकृता भुवि
वाराही तुण्डघातेन केचिच्चूर्णीतता भुवि
कृत
वा
कृता
वा
भुवि or
uh-huh.
कृता भुवि ma you said tata bhuvi. Okay.
वाराही तुण्डघातेन केचिच्चूर्णीकृता भुवि
Then Maheshwari took the trident. Maheshwari Trishulena Bhinna completely destroyed them. Bhinna means tore them into pieces with the trident. Petus tatha pare, then they became dead, fell down dead. Varahi, the mother Varahi, the chief of army of the mother, then she powdered others by the blows from the snout of hers. Tundaghatena kechit churni krita bhuvi. She powdered them and they fell on the earth. माहेश्वरी त्रिशूलेन भिन्नाः पेतुस्तथा परे वाराही तुण्डघातेन केचिच्चूर्णीकृता भुवि
माहेश्वरी त्रिशूलेन भिन्नाः पेतुस्तथा परे वाराही तुण्डघातेन केचिच्चूर्णीकृता भुवि माहेश्वरी त्रिशूलेन भिन्नाः पेतुस्तथा परे वाराही तुण्डघातेन केचिच्चूर्णीकृता भुवि
खण्डं खण्डं च चक्रेण वैष्णव्या दानवाः कृताः taking the discus Vaishnavi then cut the asuras into pieces. Vajrena cha aindri hastagra vimuktena tatha pare. In a similar way, others were killed by the Vajra, the thunderbolt released from the hands of Aindri. Hasta agra vimuktena Vajrena cha Aindri tatha pare. वज्रेण चैन्द्री हस्ताग्रविमुक्तेन तथा परे खण्डं खण्डं च चक्रेण वैष्णव्यादानवाः कृताः
खण्डं खण्डं च चक्रेण वैष्णव्यादानवाः कृताः खण्डं खण्डं च चक्रेण वैष्णव्यादानवाः कृताः
वज्रेण चैन्द्रिहस्ताग्रविमुक्तेन तथा परे
वज्रेण चैन्द्रिहस्ताग्रविमुक्तेन तथा परे वज्रेण चैन्द्रिहस्ताग्रविमुक्तेन तथा परे
खण्डं खण्डं च चक्रेण वैष्णव्या दानवाः कृताः वज्रेण चैन्द्रिहस्ताग्रविमुक्तेन तथा परे
खण्डं खण्डं च चक्रेण वैष्णव्यादानवाः कृताः वज्रेण चैन्द्रिहस्ताग्रविमुक्तेन तथा परे खण्डं खण्डं च चक्रेण वैष्णव्यादानवाः कृताः वज्रेण चैन्द्रिहस्ताग्रविमुक्तेन तथा परे
केचिद्विनेषुरसुराः केचिन्नष्टा महाहवात् some asuras perished in the battle, some fled the battle. Bhakshitaha cha apare Kali Sivaduti Mrugadhipaihi. The rest of them were swallowed, eaten by Kali, Shivaduti, and the lion. केचिद्विनेषुरसुराः केचिन्नष्टा महाहवात्
केचिद्विनेषुरसुराः केचिन्नष्टा महाहवात् केचिद्विनेषुरसुराः केचिन्नष्टा महाहवात्
भक्षिताश्चापरे काली शिवधूति मृगाधिपैः
भक्षिताश्चापरे काली शिवदूते मृगाधिपैः भक्षिताश्चापरे काली शिवदूते मृगाधिपैः
केचिद्विनेषुरसुराः केचिन्नष्टा महाहवात् भक्षिताश्चापरे काली शिवधूति मृगाधिपैः
केचिद्विनेषुरसुराः केचिन्नष्टा महाहवात् भक्षिताश्चापरे काली शिवदूते मृगाधिपैः केचिद्विनेषुरसुराः केचिन्नष्टा महाहवात् भक्षिताश्चापरे काली शिवदूते मृगाधिपैः
स्वस्ति श्रीमार्कण्डेय पुराणे सावर्णिके मन्वन्तरे देवी माहात्म्ये शुम्भ निशुम्भवधो नाम नवमोऽध्यायः ॐ श्री जगदम्बार्पणमस्तु
स्वस्ति श्री मार्कण्डेयपुराणे सावर्णिके मन्वन्तरे देवी माहात्म्ये निशुम्भवधो नाम नवमोऽध्यायः ॐ श्रीजगदम्बार्पणमस्तु
Go to the okay. What we witnessed
Should we
in this
should,
chapter.
should I
Uh,
stop sharing Shikaji or should I
yes, Ma. Yes, you can stop sharing. Thank you. What did we witness in this chapter? All of you black boxes, is it possible for you to come into the line? Yeah, yes. Two things happen with initiation. One is the sound, the other is the sight. You don't understand the significance of what I am talking, therefore, you all sit in dark black boxes. When you are looked at and when you are spoken at, that is how you actually get initiated into mantras, not by me, by the lady behind me. See how big her eyes are? What is the significance of God looking at you with such big eyes? Why is the mother looking at you with such big eyes? You see her eyes? That is initiation. That is exactly what initiation is. Doesn't even have to speak. Just by looking, you will get the receival of the grace. That's why you so listen to people most of the time. Then I saw Bhagavan looking at me. He has not even spoken to you. He just looks at you. One Mahatma told me in Puttaparthi, a great soul with incredible penance. You have no idea what kind of souls yearned for the looks of Bhagavan. Not for him coming and talking to you, taking all of that is the rest of the drama by him. It is truly drama. Because what's the point of God who knows everything coming and asking you, oh, how are you? What is your name? Where did you come from? How long you are going to be here? What is all that drama? It is drama only. And then you are like, oh, fell right into the drama. Oh, he talked to me. He asked me about, then he, gave Mangala Sutram for the marriage of Maori. All of this stuff, drama. And these people are so, I am pained to see that these Sai devotees are running after all the other kinds of dramas that are happening in the world. When he himself said, Dehamu pancha bhautikamu dehamu kulaka tappadeppudu dehi niramayundu ganutimpaka dehiki chavu puttukala moha nibandhanala mudralu levu. See how he has beautifully described what Nishumbha is in that one month padyam of Bhagavan, one poem of Bhagavan. గణుతింపగా దేహికి చావు పుట్టుక మోహ నిబంధన ముద్రలు లేవు. The stamps of birth, death, attachment, rules, guidelines, impressions, all these are stamps that are put on the deha, not on the dehi. But yet we want to believe that God exists as a gross form, a subtle form, and some other form. And then not only that, that forms then turn into himself. What is all this? What is all this? If you truly believe in what Bhagavan said, you will not even go after the gross body of Bhagavan. You will not be even attached to the gross body of Bhagavan. You will be only connected to him as the indweller, the Dehi, Rupan Dehi, Jayan Dehi, Yasho Dehi, Dvisho Jahi. Remove the duality associated with my mind constantly looking for something as an object with a name and a function to identify itself with. And hence you will stop running after miracles. You will stop getting amused by these miracles done by others. I'm not saying that they are not divine souls. I love, Swami said once very clearly, love everyone, but trust only the indweller, which is I am within you. Love everyone, yes, unconditionally, because it's love all. It is love all. But don't run after all of this drama. And then we want to get the attention. You see, then I get a bracelet, I get a necklace, I get a ring, I get this, I get that. More objects to be identified with. More objects would be identified with. It's not that they're not His grace, huh? Don't get me wrong. They are His Vibhuti. Vibhuti is also that which is in the context of the Creator, is the one that is unchanging. Every other object, even created by God, know that those objects are only in the context of connecting to the indweller that created those objects and the Creator, and not with that creation as in an object. That's the reason when in Egyptian culture, olden days, all the objects were buried in with the mummy so that they will go along with those objects, not leave them for grandchildren and other people. Write a will. Huh? Have you been to Egypt and looked at those mummies? Every object associated with that person are put inside and they're wrapped around the body and then put into it and then close the lid. Gun gone. This please go view along with your entire objects. You're done. So, brothers and sisters, what are we studying in this chapter? What did we look at in this chapter? These two brothers, Shumbha and Nishumbha, are the inseparable. Therefore, it is Shumbha and Nishumbha. And in this long battle sequence described in this chapter, the goddess first fights one on one with this Nishumbha, then with the Shumbha, and again with Nishumbha. What does that mean? The mine comes to fight with first. Mine. Huh? Mine. This mine starts manifesting as soon as you get awareness of your own self first. And then the mine starts. And the mine starts identifying everything. And when the mine is beginning to be taken away, oh, then the ego comes up and it raises. And then it fights again. And then that goes down with some incident or something. Then that will go down. Somebody very dear will die. Then this Shumbha will become dull. Oh, then Metta Vedanta comes, means stupid philosophy. What is life? It is all nothing but this and that and all of that stuff. And then for a few days, until that person's karma is done, this guy is fallen down. The ego is fallen down. He talks Vedanta, talks about Atma, the eternal, everything. After 10 days, mine will rise again. And this mind is fighting. And then, in the context of the space, time, and the identity, that identification is pierced, and the identification, the mamatva and the mamata, as dear as life itself, because the identity is shaped by its attachment to the body, mind, possessions, family, social roles, group affiliations, identity and beliefs, and among other agents. So, all these objects with defined attributes and limited qualifications is what you are completely associated with. So, Shumbha represents the subject ego, false identification, awareness, and Nishumbha represents in this context what we are looking at as the objective identification. So, this Devi's battle sequence with these Asura brothers is the inner conflict between the infinite self, the Dehi, and the limited sense of self, and the subjective and objective limited notion of identification, and that is the Deha. This is the battle. And in this battle, once these mamatva is taken away, since the objects also exist, then you have the matruganas rejuvenated within you and will slowly, fully express themselves, the navamatrukas, fully express themselves. And then you have seen complete expression of this Dehi as in all these Matrikas, the nine Matrikas. Which are the nine Matrikas? Brahmani, Maheshwari, Vaishnavi, Narasimhi, Varahi, Aindri, Kaumari, Kali,
Shivaduti.
Shivaduti. These are the nine matrikas, and there is the tenth one, Chandika. And therefore, what this mothers, as in Kali and Shivaduti, swallowing all these dead corpses of the asuras that have fallen in the battle, what does that represent? Everything associated with past, present, and future are now dissolved, swallowed by time, and everything associated with any type of identification in space is consumed by Shivaduti. Nobody will tell you all these things, sir. This is yoga, sir. This is yoga. This is tapas. Nobody will even reveal any of this stuff. They will tell you the story. And then they have to come back and tell the story. Another pravachanam, another pravachanam, another pravachanam. Nobody will give the scoop, and nobody will force you to look at the scoop. Nobody will tell you directly, all this is nonsense. Don't go for this drama. Focus on the Dehi, which is the Bhagavan himself inside you. And focus, bring that identification that you have as in that, even that gross body, love it just like you love a Krishna, a Rama, a Jesus, a Moses, a Buddha, a Zarathustra, or whoever, whatever guru it is. Just love that guru, but don't get carried away by this thing called identification with that is what gives you salvation. No, you have to remove that identity, put it on the cross, cut across that I, so that you shall know who you truly are. That is the significance of good. That's why it's called Good Friday. If you don't do that, it's a bad Friday. It's called TGIF. TGIF is a bad Friday because why? You're looking for a Friday to indulge more in the senses over a weekend. A Good Friday is a relief from the senses, freed from the ego and the senses, so that you truly can celebrate who you are over a weekend. Focusing on service and whatever, the only weekend only service activities and other things happen in most of the Sai centers outside India generally. Because otherwise you don't have time now for God. Why do I want to spend any time for God over weekdays? Those are my indulgence days, more of calculate the time factor associated with the eye and the mind, the eye as in the false eye and the mind in the entire day of yours. Then you will understand how much time you have relieved yourself from that eye and mind, and how much time you have indulged yourself from that eye and mind. Therefore, that knowledge which frees you from that ego, I and the mind. Therefore, Bhagavan said in one beautiful sentence, the end of knowledge is freedom. Freedom from the I and the mind and the slavery of the senses and the mind to these objects. And coming over in surrender to that slavery is what is called pass over. Therefore, you can fix the mind, which is so small, like a hairline of the moon, on the star that is at the center. Allahu Akbar. That is the essence of Islam. Ramadan, Eid ul Fitr. हम सब लोग बेवकूफ हो गए without understanding what these religions represent. We have become bewkoofs. If you Bewkoof means, in Persian, in Arabic, Bewkoof means ignorant. Bewkoof ban gaya. So ignorant that we think that these religions are separate. We don't even want to celebrate the glory of the God in its complete oneness. Huh? Now these documentaries with one religion saying Jesus was a Hindu monk, Jesus was a Buddhist monk. No, no, no. Jesus was given initiation by Islam. All this nonsense creeps in because you want to claim superiority over Jesus. In some form or the other, it is the ego representation again. My social beliefs, my religion, my agenda, my this, my that. Therefore, I destroy. And I'm not just saying about Hindus only. I am talking about the stupid Christianity also, trying to convert people into Christianity in the name of religion forcefully by giving them money and all of that nonsense. That is also ignorance. Get freed from all of that stupidity, including you cherish God in whatever form, or you love Him, or her, or it, or that. But then you know that all are representation of God in truth, and we shall live our life freed from all of that on this Easter, beautiful, auspicious time, the time of Passover, and the time when we celebrate Islam. With that, now we have to go for the Ekadash Rudrabhishekam. ॐ यदक्षरपदभ्रष्टं मात्राहीनं तु यद्भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां देव नारायण नमोऽस्तु ते विसर्गबिन्दुमात्राणि पदपादाक्षराणि च न्यूनानि चातिरिक्तानि क्षमस्व साईश्वर अपराधसहस्राणि क्रियन्ते हर्निशं मया दासोऽयमिति मां मत्वा क्षमस्व साईश्वर अन्यथा शरणं नास्ति त्वमेव शरणं मम तस्मात् कारुण्यभावेन रक्ष रक्ष साईश्वर हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्री साईश्वरार्पणमस्तु स्वस्तिः प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्याय्येन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा